From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Happy Monday. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. Great to be with all of y'all this morning, Monday, November 18th, 2024. And boy, oh boy, is it heating up out there. All right, so we've got a lot of cyber news to talk about this morning, a ton. T-Mobile confirming that they were part of the Typhoon Telecom breach, although they're not giving out a lot of details. If you're a Palo Alto shop, you've had a really, really rough weekend as well. If you're Veeam, and then we got some NSO news, some vulnerabilities, and good guys prevail on a Monday, because why not start off with some good news with everything else we've got to deal with. So join me for a coffee cup cheers this morning. Before we do that, please make sure to subscribe, follow, like, share, comment. You can also check out our Substack. Coffee cup cheers. I've got my double espresso. Good coffee on a Monday morning. And we kick it off with T-Mobile among the telecom carriers hacked in the Chinese cyber espionage operation that's been attributed to a group called Typhoon. According to people familiar with the matter, as more and more information becomes available, the Chinese gained successful entry into multiple U.S. and international telecommunication companies. This was a very targeted Chinese intelligence and espionage campaign, meaning they weren't going for everyone's data. They were looking for specific data in what is being said to be a months-long campaign spying on cell phone communication for high-value intel targets. It's unclear what, if any, information was taken from T-Mobile calls or communication records. T-Mobile is monitoring this, but they'll join the ranks of AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen among the telecom companies that were victims to the attack by Typhoon. And again, this is going to be significant. And I've said it before on the show, until we get the full details, it's still going to be a bit difficult. Now, we know last week on Thursday, I talked on the show that CISO and FBI kind of started confirming the range of the attack, but we still don't know the TTPs, the IOCs, the significance, the data, the victims, although you can only assume high-value intel targets, meaning they're likely going after politicians, campaign folks, likely going after leaders of companies or specific business interests that the Chinese care about. That's all known to be part of that. It's believed that they were able to infiltrate American telecom infrastructures through vulnerabilities in the Cisco system routers. Investigators suspect that they relied on AI or machine learning to further their espionage operation, according to people familiar with the matter. In the broader, attackers were able to access cell phone lines used by an array of senior national security and policy officials across the U.S. In addition to politicians, the access allowed them to scoop up call logs, unencrypted text, and some audio from targets in one investigations believed to have significant security ramifications to the U.S. national security. Some foreign telecom firms were also compromised in the hacks, including in countries that maintain close intelligence sharing partnerships with the U.S. So you can assume that's going to be the Five Eyes, Europe, potentially Israel. Earlier this week, the Biden administration acknowledged that about some details about the nature of the broad and significant attack that was previously reported by the Wall Street Journal. Again, the Wall Street Journal is reporting this on condition of anonymity from sources within the government. We still don't yet have official confirmation, although, like I said, on Thursday on the show, CISA and the FBI kind of came out and said, there's been a breach. We're letting people kind of know about it, but we're not giving a lot of details. So really, as a practitioner, I look at this and I go, I hope the buildup sounds really bad, but it's kind of like watching a preview to a movie, right? You hope that, there's more good scenes outside of the preview than what we're seeing here. Because otherwise it'd be a really, really big buildup. And then we figure out that they got call logs of politicians and some unencrypted text messages, but that's about it. So they knew who was talking who, but they don't know what was said. So we'll see how far this goes. Again, the hushness of this investigation keeps kind of everything there being questioned. So we'll see what happens there. They're in Palo Alto on Friday, published an advisory urging customers to ensure that access to the PAN-OS management interface is secure in light of claims about a remote code execution vulnerability. And now these are 3 different alerts that came through that now have produced this zero-day. Palo Alto initially said it had not seen any indications of a zero-day being exploited, but on Friday it did update its advisory saying that it observed threat activity exploiting an unauthenticated remote command execution vulnerability against a limited number of firewall management interfaces, which are exposed to the internet. It's unclear how the vulnerability came to light and who has exploited it. A CV identifier has yet been assigned to the vulnerability, but it has a CVSS score of 9.3, which is critical severity. Palo Alto told customers it's working on patches and threat prevention signatures with the hopes those will be released soon, but they have not been as of yet. The vast majority of firewalls already follow this Palo Alto Networks and industry best standard. That standard is access to the firewall management is only possible from trusted IP addresses and not from the incident. The company believes that Prisma Access and Cloud NGFW products were not impacted. We'll see as we get more information from Palo Alto here in the coming days. According to WhatsApp, NSO Group developed malware while they were being sued by WhatsApp in violation, saying that it violated federal and state anti-hacking laws, according to a court filing by WhatsApp and its parent company Meta on Thursday. It was one bevy of a revelation and new details found in the filing that expound on how the NSO Group operates and the scope of its work. WhatsApp is seeking a summary judgment from the U.S. District Court of the Northern District of California and award of damages after detecting NSO's malicious messages back in 2019. WhatsApp made changes to disable the exploit called Eden. According to the filing, NSO Group then developed a new malware vector called Iracid that continued using WhatsApp as an installation vector through at least May of 2020. Even after the litigation have been filed, until changes to WhatsApp eventually disabled that malware vector. But those were 2 of 3 WhatsApp-centric exploits mentioned in the filing, with the third known as Heaven that was disabled back in 2018. NSO admitted Eden was responsible for the attacks described in the complaint, 1,400 in all, as WhatsApp had claimed that NSO admitted. According to the complaint, NSO's head of R&D had confirmed that those vectors worked precisely as alleged by the plaintiff. NSO's customer's role is minimal. The customer only needed to enter the target device number and press install, and Pegasus will install the agent on the device remotely. So they're essentially saying it's NSO's fault, not the nation state. You know, again, I go back to whenever I see the NSO case, NSO makes a gun. You don't blame the gun manufacturer for who shoots the gun. You blame the person who shoots the gun for the crime that they committed in shooting that gun. Same applies here. The NSO customer role is not minimal. It is everything. NSO is a tool. It could be used for good. It could be used for bad. So are we to believe that when it's used for good and it prevents the loss of life, that's okay? We'll ignore that. But when it's used by an autocratic regime for whatever purpose, whether it be violating human rights or whatnot, again, not necessarily a democracy. That's what that nation does. If that government did that, then that's their fault. Seems a very, very kind of weird kind of method of justice here, if nothing else. The lawsuit is 5 years old, one of many filed in an attempt in courts to use courts to battle spyware companies, specifically NSO. The evidence unveiled on Thursday showed exactly how NSO operations violated U.S. law and launched those cyber attacks against journalists, human rights activists, and civil society. Again, if it wasn't done on U.S. soil, then the U.S. does not have jurisdiction, even though WhatsApp is the victim. So, and likely if they lost and they appealed to the Supreme Court, it would say that WhatsApp's not a victim. The user is the victim. And so the user would need to file that claim. There's that as well. So we continue to monitor the NSO case. Very, very interesting. A critical vulnerability in the Veeam backup and replication is being exploited by a new ransomware variant, according to Sophos. The cyber criminal group operating Frag, the previously undocumented ransomware, used similar TTPs as those used by Akira and Fog. Those groups were involved in exploitation of the same vulnerability last month, according to Sophos. Similar to previous events, they say the threat actor used a compromised VPN appliance for access, leveraged the Veeam vulnerability, and created a new account named Point, according to Sean Gallagher, the principal threat researcher over at Sophos XOps, in a blog post. However, it's in this incident, a Point 2 account was also created. So Veeam is used by more than 550,000 customers. It's a major backup and restore effort there. And again, a lot of companies use Veeam as their primary backup in the event of a ransomware operation. So when that's compromised, that obviously introduces a whole new risk and gets rid of the resiliency that a lot of organizations build on. This specific Zeroday was patched by the folks over at Veeam. However, some devices still remain unpatched, and so folks should go ahead and get those taken care of. That patch is attributed to CVE 2024-40711, and it's got a CVSS score of 9 or 0.8 for all of y'all out there keeping track. James Cesar at Substack.com over the weekend released a whole new segment on identity. Go check it out. You'll definitely love it. Human, non-human identities, best practices around it on my Substack for absolutely free. Go check it out, jamescesar.substack.com. That's where you can subscribe. A critical severity vulnerability in the Really Simple Security plugin for WordPress exposes 4 million websites to complete takeover, according to Defiant. CVE 2024-10924 has a CVSS score of 9 or 0.8. The issue is described as an authentication bypass that would allow an unauthenticated attacker to log in as any user, including even the admin. According to Defiant, the security defects exist because of an improper user check error handling the plugin's two-factor REST API action. Specifically, the bug is triggered if 2FA is enabled. The Really Simple SSL is used by 4 million websites. It's the Really Simple Security plugin, enables site admins to add variant security features, including multi-factor authentication, login protections, vulnerability detection, and more. You want to make sure you get this updated as well. Really Simple version 9.1.2 does solve that. Untold millions of sensitive records and personal data are being exposed over the web right now. Power Pages, born from the Power Apps portals, Microsoft's low-code website building platform, it's commonly used to design external-facing sites like portals for employees and retailers, or even event registrations or management sites. Back when it was released, it was to the general public. Microsoft bragged that it already had served more than 100 million monthly active website users in industries as diverse as high-tech to healthcare, education, finance, manufacturing, and government. The result, vast swath of sensitive information from sites around the world are available right now to anyone who cares to see them. Power Pages sites use Microsoft's cloud-based relational database, Dataverse, to store structured data. To protect the data, developers can call upon a variety of access control, obviously site-level settings or table-level settings. All of those, or the more granular one, would apply to the level of Dataverse columns. However, the problem here is that admins aren't always making use of these 3 rungs of access controls, if any, and as a result, you can access that data on their sites is really, really trivial. Once you understand what's going on, it's just a matter of going to those URLs and getting that data. Costello only probed websites hosted by organizations with cybersecurity disclosure policies, those which might be more amenable to hearing about their lacking security posture. Even with the limitation, he ultimately discovered 5 million to 7 million exposed records from Power Page users. So if you're using one of those, you may want to go ahead and audit that and take care of it. Threat actors increasingly are using SVGs. Those are scalable vector graphics attachments to display phishing forms or deploy malware while evading detection. Most images on the web are JPEG or PNG, which are made of grids or tiny squares called pixels. Each pixel has a specific color value, and together these pixels form an image. SVG displays images differently, as instead of using pixels, the images are created through lines, shapes, and text described in contextual mathematical formulas in the code. For example, the following text will create a rectangle, a circle, a link, and some text. When opened in the browser, the file will generate graphics described by the text below. That's Bleepy Computer. They're doing the heavy lifting, so we don't have to. The use of SVG attachments in phishing campaigns is nothing new. Bleepy Computer reporting about their usage in previous Qbot malware campaigns as a way to hide malicious scripts. However, threat actors are now using this more in their phishing campaigns, according to researchers at the Malware Hunter team, who shared recent samples with Bleeping Computers. As shown, a recent SVG virus total displays a fake Excel spreadsheet with built-in login forms that, when submitted, sends the data to the threat actors. Another one pretends to be an official document and requests for more information, prompting you to click the download button, which then downloads malware from a remote site. So all in all, you want to make sure you keep an eye on those as well. Delhi police arrested a suspect allegedly linked to the theft of at least $230 million worth of cryptocurrency from the India-based platform WazirX earlier this year. The suspect is identified as Masood Alam from West Bengal. He was detained on Thursday, according to the Times of India, describing the arrest as a significant breakthrough in the ongoing investigation into the WazirX hack. According to media reports, Alam allegedly created an account on WazirX using a false name and later sold it to another individual on Telegram. The account was then used to breach the exchange. The reports do not specify the potential punishment he could face, but it could be significant given the amount of money that was taken from WazirX and its impact on the economy. So all in all, good guys prevail there. And finally, President Biden's administration on Thursday released guidelines for using AI in the power grid, water systems, air travel networks, and other pieces of critical infrastructure. Private industry would have to adopt and implement the guidelines announced by the Homeland Security Department, which were developed in consultation with the department's Advisory AI Safety and Security Board. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told reporters they intend the framework to be, frankly, a living document and to change as developments in the industry change as well. Owners and operators of critical infrastructures are advised to have stronger cybersecurity protocols that consider AI-related risks and provide transparency about how AI is used. Asked if the framework could possibly change once President-elect Donald Trump takes oath, Mayorkas stressed that he was implementing the policies of President Joe Biden. We know that there's already a nominee for Homeland Security, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. So we'll see how she views this work there. That's it for our show. This one will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern live with all the latest and greatest. Thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, share, like, comment. And for all the people that are commenting on YouTube, X, and everywhere, we'll get to all of y'all after the show. Until then, have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, stay cyber.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.